Does it work now? Oh yeah, it does. Okay.
Jump in. So I've got a fresh project file here, and the first thing I'm going to do is switch over to cycles, GPU compute, and I'm going to lower my render samples to 128. Then I'm going to come down here to my color management, and I'm going to switch my look to medium high contrast. And while you're here, you'll want to make sure that you're in the filmic view transformation. This is like a general rule for basically everything, but make sure that that is checked on. Then I'm going to come over here and delete the default light. And now, so for building the black hole, a black hole isn't really like an object if you think about it, at least what we're seeing. What we see is the effect of light being bent so extremely that it can't escape. And so we need to simulate gravity affecting light. And the issue with that is that Blender considers light to be a perfectly straight line, because for a sponge surface, and that'll create the effect of light actually being bent around the world origin. And so if we tap into edit mode with our default cube selected, right click, subdivide, give this 9 cuts, then select everything and press Shift Alt S. This will let us use the 2-sphere transform to make this into a sphere. Tab out of edit mode, shade smooth, then add a subdivision surface modifier, and just set this to 1. Then you can go ahead and apply this. Tab into edit mode again, Shift Alt S, to sphere, make it a sphere again, and that's pretty good. Tab back out, and then we're gonna rename this to shell. Then add in another cube, hide the shell, hop over into geometry nodes, and add a new geometry nodes modifier. Now I'll grab my shell from up here and a
Yeah, and mess it up. Right, what? Okay, wait, let me try opening it again. Huh. Okay, let's just start over. They already know how to. Okay, so you start with a cube. You subdivide it. Subdivide by 9. Draw a test. Draw a test. Oh, draw a test. Am I streaming?
Form G this to shell. Then add in another cube. Hide the shell. Hop over into geometry nodes and add a new geometry nodes modifier. Now I'll grab my shell from up here and a transform geometry node. And just set this up like that. I'm also going to scale this down by 0.8. Then I'm going to grab a geometry to instance node. I'll plug this into a duplicate elements node and then make sure this is set to instance. And I'm going to slide all of this on over. Now I'm going to grab an integer node and plug this into the amount. And I'm going to set this to 64. This integer is going to control basically how many shells we have. And then in order to make this noticeable, because right now they're just all in the same space, perfectly overlapping each other. So we have to alter them a little bit. So grab a math node, set to divide, plug this in here, divide by 4.25, duplicate this again, plug the duplicate index and this value into here like that. Shift D, set this to power. And this value. Duplicate the two in here. Set to divide. Plug this in here. Divide by 4.25. Duplicate this again. Plug the duplicate index and this value into here like that. Shift D, set this to power. Then plug this value into the base and set your exponent to 2.5. Now just grab an add node, and we're going to add 1 to this. So now if we grab a scale instances node, plug this in, and we zoom out, you can see we have a bunch of nested shells. And now the reason I used a power node here is because this...
Uh-oh. Happen again. Okay, I think I need to cry.
lets us distribute the shells more compactly toward the center and further apart out here, because if you think about it, the lensing of the gravity is going to be much more intense down here toward the center compared to out here, and so we want to have more shells so we have a more realistic solution there. So that's why we have that. Then you're going to want to grab a realize instances node, click that into there, and actually while I'm at this, you're going to want to make sure to save your file, just in case things can get a little bit heavier during the process later, and I don't want you to lose your progress. Now we're just going to plug in a set shade smooth node, and a set material node, plugged in like that, and I'll assign myself
Why you awake? The fuck? Why not? I woke up at like 5 a.m. and I watched an episode of Arcane. I love Arcane. Oh my goodness, I love Arcane. It's 7:35 a.m. 7:35. Oh my god, 7:35. In my solitude, in my solitude.
Self material over here. Now, with that done, we can hop over into our shader editor, jump over to rendered view, and I'm actually going to hide our set of spheres. I'll also...
Wait, is it like 5 hours away? Oh. Oh yeah, I want to change that actually. I want to stream earlier. I want to stream more often. I'm just cringe, so yeah. Don't say that. Don't say that. You're not cringe. No, you're so smexy. Oh my god. Sorry. I don't mean to make fun of you. It's just that's a like I love that I'm cringe. I love that I'm cringe. I mean cringe with positive connotation. Um, 'Cause that's exactly what you thought. Yeah. Okay. Um,
Rename this to lens. So now, in order to see the lens actually working, we need something for it to, well, to lens. So I'm going to add in sort of a stand-in accretion disk by adding in a circle, scaling this up a bit, pressing E,
wait, sorry, I skipped.
jump over to rendered view, and I'm actually going to hide our shader editor, jump over to rendered view, and I'm
How do I
actually going
delete
to
the
hide our
materials?
set of spheres. I'll also rename this to lens. So now, in order to see the lens actually working, we need something for it to, well, to lens.
Select.
So I'm going to add in sort of a stand-in accretion disk by adding in a circle, scaling this up a bit, pressing ES to scale this out even further, and there.
I can't see it. Where's the where's the circle? Ah, how do I delete? How do I delete? How do I delete? How do I delete a material? Let me look this up actually. How to delete a material. Display mode. Uh,
To delete all material slots in Blender at once, click on the down arrow next to the material slots list. Choose Remove Unused Slots from the drop-down menu. Blender will automatically delete all the materials when you save and reopen the blend file. However, if you want to get rid of them right away, go to File, Clean Up, Purge Unused Data. In the previous Blender versions, go to File, Clean Up, Recursive Unused Data Blocks. Follow me for more 3D tips.
file, you know. Did I do it? Oh, yippee, I did it. I think. Um,
A bit sort of in order to see the lens set and myself material over plugged in like that, and I'll assign myself material.
okay. geometry nodes. Okay, we assigned ourselves the material. Good.
Over here. Now, with that done, we
Go
can
to
hop
shading.
over into our shader editor, jump over to rendered view,
Why does mine look different?
and I'm actually going to hide our set of spheres. I'll also rename this to lens. So now, in order to see the lens actually working, we need something for it to, well, to lens. So I'm going to add in sort of a stand-in accretion disk by adding in a circle, scaling this up a bit, pressing ES to scale this out. Out even further, and there we go. Give this a new material, set this to an emission shader. Then I'm going to grab a checker texture.
Calm down. Mission. Checker.
Set this to be a little bit darker. There we go. And I'm going to grab a texture coordinate node. So you don't really need to do this right now, but it'll speed things up later. I'm just going to plug in the object coordinates.
Buzzing the object coordinates.
Set this scale to something much, much, much lower.
Much
And I'm just going
slower.
to bring in two node groups that we're going to need later.
So this is the part that looks different.
Thing up later. I'm just going to plug in the object coordinates. Set this scale to something much, much, much lower. And I'm just going to bring in two node groups that we're going to need later, just that you guys can see them. You don't really need to know how they work, so I'm just going to show you them. You can copy them directly. So I just appended these two nodes here. And so I'm just going to link these for free in the description. But this spherical coordinates node, what it does is it takes like the object coordinates, which are in Cartesian, so you have your x, y, and z, and it converts them to spherical coordinates, which is your radius, your distance from the origin, your theta, which you can think of as like your angle above or below the horizon, and then there's this phi, which is like your rotation around the z-axis. And so then this Cartesian coordinates node just converts them back. Again, I'm going to link these in the description. There's not really anything here you have to understand. It's just converting a couple mathematical equations into like Blender nodes. So you can see if we plug these in directly, one for one. And into here, we don't have any difference. But one little neat thing is that if we just grab a combine X, Y, Z node and plug our radius, theta, and phi into the X, Y, and Z respectively, and plug this in, And then we grab a math node and multiply our phi value. You can see we get this like sort of radial texture, which can be pretty useful for visualizing our black hole for now. So yeah, just download these in the description. And we're going to be using these later in our accretion disk too. So now we can click our lens back on, click onto here, and
Why does it look different? Why does it look different? Ah!
click onto here.
Oh. No, wait. Oh, why does it look different? Oh my God, why does it look different? Oh my God, end my suffering. End it, end it, end it.
Disk 2. So now we can click our lens back on, click onto here, and click to our material that we have assigned. Delete the principled BSDF, and we're going to grab a refraction shader. And now this IOR value, this controls how much the light's going to bend when it hits the sphere. So if I set this to 1, we get no bending, but you'll notice we actually get this weird artifact of these dark lines. And the reason we're getting that is because Blender, by
I'm not getting
default,
that.
is
I'm not
only
getting that. I did something wrong. I did something horribly wrong. I did something horribly wrong. Oh my God, I did something horribly wrong. 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 Sorry. Sorry. Mm. Mm. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I did it. I found what was wrong. I found what was wrong. Meow, 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 meow.
set to calculate 12 transmission passes. And over here in our geometry nodes, we created 64 of these shells. And so we need to be able to calculate exactly double that amount. And so if we set transmission and total to 128, you can see that resolves the problem. Now, as we increase this IOR, it'll bend light more. But the thing is, we don't want the light to bend just evenly across every sphere. We want it to bend more intensely toward the center. So I'm going to grab a coordinates node and a vector math node. Set this vector math to length. Then plug the object coordinates into here. Then if we plug this into the IOR slot, grab a math node, set this to add 1, and you can see we're getting nothing, and that's because we have to do a lot more math to this real quick. So, grab another math node, set this to subtract, and subtract 1.4. I'm going to be using a couple values that are going to seem kind of arbitrary here, by the way. These are not just random values I've selected. I've just done a lot of fine-tuning to this over the last couple weeks. So if at any point you think to yourself that altering one of these values makes it look better, by all means do that. Again, this is a lot of my personal preference going into here, but it is also a lot of refinement, so it's not just completely random selection. Now with that, we're going to set our power to -0.5. Come over here, set
What the heck?
this select to. Now with that, we're going into here, but it is also a lot of refinement, so it's not just completely random selection. Now with that, we're going to set our power to -0.5. Come over here, set this to divide, and we're going to divide by our sort of like resolution amount, if you want to think about it, whatever we put into this integer slot. And so now we've got this effect. You can see it's like kind of working, but not really. The first thing we want to fix is this weird effect that's happening at the edges of all the spheres. So let's grab ourselves a layer weight node and a color ramp. Plug the facing value into here. Set this blend to like 0.9. And if you can see what this looks like, it just looks like this. And we're just gonna make, and if you can see what this looks like, it just looks
I need to do my laundry. Maybe. Meh. I'm back.
Looks like
Review
this.
here.
And if you can see what this looks like, it just looks like this. And we're just gonna make the light intensity very small toward the edge. Plug this back in. So if we duplicate this, set it to multiply, and plug in our color ramp. Then we can set this white value to something pretty high, pretty close. And plug in our color ramp. Then we can set this white value to something pretty high, pretty close. And you can see this has gotten rid of that weird edge effect. Now I'm going to hop over here, and after my add node, I'm going to set a power node to 2. Because in real life, of course, it is a squared fall off. As you get further away, grab another math node. Set this to multiply. Now I'm going to set this to 2.8. Now if you duplicate your power node, and we're going to have to set this to something smaller. I'm going to set this to 1.74. I found a value of like 1.7 to 1.8 to be pretty good. Then we're just going to multiply this again by a whole lot. I'm going to go like 22, maybe a little bit more, and that looks pretty darn good to me. But now one thing you're going to notice is that the center of our black hole isn't actually really black. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to add a regular old UV sphere, shade it smooth, shrink it down to something like 0.1, and we're just going to add an emission shader to it with a strength of 0, and that'll prevent those like. We're just gonna add, shade it smooth, shrink it down to something like 0.1.
Now, why? Hang on.
Is that the center of our black hole isn't actually really black, and so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna add a regular old UV sphere, shade it smooth, shrink it down to something like 0.1. Shrink it down to something like 0.1, and we're just gonna add like 0.1, and we're just gonna add an emission shader to it with a strength of 0, and that'll prevent those like erroneous sort of light bounces. And I do want to reiterate, by the way, this is like extremely realistic. This is basically how it's done by like the people who made Interstellar. Good to me. But now one thing you're going to notice is that the center of our black hole isn't actually really black. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to add a regular old UV sphere, shade it smooth. The center of our black hole isn't actually really black. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to add a regular old UV sphere, shade it smooth, shrink it down to something like 0.1, and we're just going to add an emission shader to it with a strength of 0, and that'll prevent those like erroneous sort of light bounces. And I do want to reiterate, by the way, this is like extremely realistic. This is basically how it's done by like the people who made Interstellar. Obviously, they were using a special rendering engine, not just shells of.
Hmm. I don't know, but my solution is a bit.
Yes, an emission shader to it, shrink it down to something like 0.1, and we're just gonna add an emission shader to that. And I do want to read those like erroneous sort of light bounces, and that'll prevent those like erroneous sort of light bounces. And I do want to reiterate, by the way, this is like extremely realistic. This is basically how it's done by like people who made Interstellar. Obviously, they were using a special rendering engine, not just shells of glass. But yeah, this is an extremely realistic result. And I also want to add, before I go any further, like credit where it's due, this lensing setup, I by no means am the person who came up with this. I do want to say the person I learned about this from was Samuel Krug. You've maybe heard of this channel, but I know he also heard about it from somewhere else. This has been around on the internet for a while now. Just want to make sure credit where credit is due. Now, one more thing I do want to add is I want to make a sharp sort of halo ring around my black hole. And to do that, again, we're going to grab our friend, the texture coordinate node, and a vector math node. Plug this into here, get the length again. Then grab a map range node. Plug this value into here. Then set your toMin value to 2 and leave your max at 1. And we're at 2 and leave your max at 1. And we're going to plug this into the color slot on our refraction. And we're just going to kind of artificially amplify the light right here near the edge. And so in order to isolate that edge, we're going to set this to 2.37 for our min. And our from max is going to be 4. And just like that, you can see we have like this just beautiful halo effect. Yeah, it really is just amazing what Blender can do. I mean, this is just...
Okay, that's right.
And our from max is going to be 4.
4. So I think we have to change the size of this view. Oh. That's kind of right. Close enough. Can't sweat the small stuff, you know? Um, hmm, hmm. Oh, there we. Wait, did I do it? Okay. I gotta let it go. Can't can't fucking sorry, Crystal.
And just like that, you can see we have like this just beautiful halo effect. Yeah, it really is just amazing what Blender can do. I mean, this is just honestly amazing as is, but now we're gonna add in the accretion disk, and this thing is gonna be beautiful. And so now, before we actually do that, I'm gonna scale this down a bit, just to make the scale a bit more workable. Then I'm gonna click on my camera, and I'm gonna set my focal length to 300 millimeters. And the reason work down a bit, just to make the scale of to do that, I'm gonna scale this down a bit, just to make the scale a bit more. Scale this down a bit, just to make the scale a bit.
I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let's just bite the bullet.
Bit more workable. Then I'm gonna click on my camera,
He made everything.
and I'm gonna set my focal length to 300 millimeters. And the reason I'm making this so telescopic is that if you think about it, even in space, when something is like close by to you, it's still thousands and thousands of kilometers away. And so, at that length, even something that's nearby, you need basically a telescope in order to zoom in on it. And so, by making our focal length more telescopic, we're going to get a much more realistic result. So, now I'm just going to line up my view. And if you select render region over here, then that'll make this render a little bit quicker. You'll also want to adjust this.
Downvote. 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 This is too much. Sorry.
here. So by making our focal length more telescopic, we're gonna get a much more realistic result. So now I'm just gonna line up my view. And if you select render region over here, then that'll make my view. And if you select render region over here, then that'll make this render a little bit quicker. You'll also want to
Why am I doing this?
this clip
Why am I doing
start
this?
and clip end on your camera, just like that. Maybe rotate the disc. And yeah, that looks pretty good to me for now. Maybe zoom in a little bit more. There we go. Now I'm going to hide my stand-in accretion disk. And I'm going to make my world absolute black. Hopping back into our layout, I'm going to add in a cube. Tab into edit mode. Scale. Then Shift Z to only scale.
Okay, I give up. I give up. I give up. I'm living in the fever dream. Sorry. Okay. I was thinking we could practice piano. We could do some piano practicing. We could do some piano practicing. Do some piano practicing. Um, okay. Sorry. I know I'm not entertaining. I know. But it's not about your entertainment. It's about my process. My process. Getting out of it once more. And watch the sky above. Okay. The lion does not care. Oh, yes, I need to plug in my. Oh. Dun dun da 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 dun dun dun. Are we okay? Oh, my camera froze out. Okay. I'll fix that in just a second. Okay, time to fix my camera. Okay, now let's orient this into a standing position, please. My bad. You're slowly ascending. You're slowly ascending. Jeez. Oh, jeez. Um, okay. My goodness. My goodness. Let's do this. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. Fuck. Me when I'm embarrassed to exist, but I have to embrace my embarrassment. I am but a fish with no name. No negative stimming. No negative stimming. I should cry. I should cry. Wait, is it not capturing the audio output? What? Oh, it's not. It's so bizarre. Oh, because it's so. Oh. That's so crazy. Crazy how that works. Okay, let's just pow 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 pow. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. That was pretty good. I don't know. Again. That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what I thought. This sucks. Stop, stop, stop. That's so loud. Ah! What is this last note? No. Hmm. I need to cry. Oh my goodness. No! No, my recording! No, fuck off! Fuck off! I'm sorry for cursing! No, my recording! Ah! Pow, 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 pow. Oh my goodness. That's a lie. I just made that up right now. Drop it. I should krill. I should krill like a little shrimp. I should krill like a little shrimp. Like a little shrimp, I say. I bid you stay. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna freaking krill. I'm gonna krill like a little shrimp. Oh my goodness. Rips myself to shreds. on the end of where is it? Where is it? Uh, oh wait, am I crediting? Yes, I am. Good. Oh, why did I delete that? Oh my goodness. How dare I? goodness, how am I gonna do this? It's gonna glitch. It's gonna glitch. Watch. Watch, 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 watch. I saw it happen. It's gonna happen again. Unless it doesn't. Okay. I stand corrected. What? Fuck you. Fuck you. I was doing something. Oh my goodness. I did it. I found the auditory motif. ¿Dónde está? What? Unplugged? Oh, my camera. Yeah. Okay. Fuck! I'm gonna explode. Oh my goodness. Okay. Laser beam shoots out of my eyes. You're erased permanently. And I cry and I just sob and uh oh my goodness. Okay. I need to take a shower and stuff. So I'm gonna go. But it was good while it lasted. It was good while it lasted. We found the main auditory motif, and I will play it while I'm speaking. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I don't know. 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 IDK. 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 Cute fish girl pacing around. Okay, well, what if I'm like, what if, what if, okay, bye. I'm so sorry, honey bun. I'm about to leave. I I'm sorry. I have to get my injection for my schizophrenia. But I'll be back around like I want to say 10:30, 10:30. So give it like a bit more than an hour and I'll be back. So yeah. But thank you for your support, thank you for your time, thank you for your effort, thank you for your participation. I appreciate every one of you from the heart that is bottomless and empty, that crevices from my it begins of course where every human heart begins, but it actually kind of like burrows into my torso and then my hip and then my leg, and it just extends all the way down to my fucking foot because it's a bottomless heart of how much empathy I have for my viewers and my non-viewers and my lurkers and my chatters. So with that in mind, it's been a good stream. It's been a good stream. I really need to take a shower. Ah! That's the sound of me burning. That's the sound of me burning. Ah!